Hey, subscribers, cool dudes, and people who are not subscribed but are watching this anyway, you better hit that subscribe button. Anyway, as you may or may not know, for the last 2 months, I believe, I've been working on a video where I rank every 2020 free film I saw this year to cap the year off. I quickly learned why most YouTubers don't do that. Talking about 20 movies in one video is not a very realistic thing to do. So I have decided to split the two videos in half to save time, to save storage, because I haven't run into anything yet, but I can already tell uploading this is going to be a nightmare. And just to make everything easier and more convenient for everyone. Of course, this is my list, which means it's as close to as objective as you can get. But if you have your own list, you can put it down in the comments yourself. Also, I put little funny memes in front of each ranking because I'm a funny guy, what can I say?
Ant Boy and the Wiener Quantum Vagina is dog shit, bro. This movie is ass. I would rather be that guy from the clip I just showed than watch this movie again. This is genuinely one of the worst MCU movies I have ever watched. This movie was terrible. It was unfunny, the visuals are bad, and as far as Kang goes, it killed my hype. Like, this was the thing that made me go, huh, maybe Marvel is dead. So basically, the plot of this movie is that Ant-Man and the Wasp and his other colorful characters go into the quantum realm where they meet Kang, who's supposed to be the new Thanos, and they also meet MODOK. They make a lot of jokes about how stupid he looks. What an intimidating villain. That is so scary. I'm so scared of this character that they constantly mock and belittle. I mean, it would be fine if they were funny jokes, but they aren't. And when everything about this movie is so dull, but the thing that makes me mad about this movie is that the trailers were so good. Like, alright, Kang can control time, right? So the trailers made it look like he was going to make a deal, Ant-Man, to work with him because he could give him back his time with his daughter, with his time travel, because Ant-Man has basically been apart from his daughter her whole life, you know? From prison and then superhero prison, and then he got stuck in the quantum realm that one time. So, I mean, Ant-Man's been away from his daughter for the majority of her life. But instead it's just like, oh, hey guys, it's me, Kang. And a lot of people were saying, and I should have listened to them, they were saying, well, no one's going to care about Kang because Ant-Man's going to beat him, and who cares about a guy that Ant-Man can beat? Because in case you don't know, Kang is the next big bad. Like, he's supposed to be the next big Thanos. But, and I was saying, well, what's probably going to happen is that since they're stuck in the quantum realm, they're probably just going to make a narrow escape, but barely, and they're not going to beat him. But no, Kang loses to ants, an army of ants. That's what saves the day. The dialogue is so boring. Remember lines like, I can do this all day, and I am inevitable? Well, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, has such great lines as, you have a lot of holes, and it's never too late to stop being a dick. Such riveting screenplay. Fuck Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Props to the marketing team for making this god-awful movie look decent. So luckily, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was the only outright bad movie of the year. Uh, the rest of these are just sort of you know? Nothing special, totally average. Like, whatever. There's whatever. They call it average for a reason. So, anyway, the next movie on the list is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This movie is fine, I guess. I mean, if you're looking for something that lives up to the original movies, then no. But it's a serviceable blockbuster, I suppose. I'd prefer if they had a little bit higher standards. Um, like, I don't know, man. It just so boring. The highlight was the action scenes. These action scenes are heart pounding and non-stop fun. Some of the best action scenes I've seen all year. But then again, I haven't seen the new Mission Impossible, so maybe if I saw that, this movie would look lame. A lot of people have been saying that the girl is gay and they made it woke, but she's not gay. I understand that her actress gives that gay energy for whatever reason. She might not even be gay, I don't know. But it's literally just a woman, and Indiana Jones has always had women companions, and like, I don't like her, but I think you guys should stop blaming her character on the fact she's a woman and more on the fact that she's just a bad character. Come on. I don't think the Nazis' plan makes any sense. So basically, he wants to go back in time and kill Hitler because he thinks he can do better than Hitler. But what ends up happening is that they they have like this map to a time portal in the air, and that leads them to the 40s, but they end up going. But then Indiana Jones is like, oh, continental shift, so we're not going to be here because the map is different. But first of all, that map was written in like ancient Greece, so it's not going to be that different. The time portal is still going to be in that area. And third of all, you would think, okay, well, if there's continental shift and you're going through a portal, but it's not going to be there because the map is outdated, then I guess it'll just be normal guys. But no, they turns out they are in a totally wrong area and they went through the wrong portal because there just happened to be another totally separate portal in that same area that takes them to ancient Greece. Like, what? Also, I just realized the portals are in the sky, so continental drift wouldn't even affect them. I don't know. This movie is kind of stupid. I honestly wouldn't recommend it because it's not even worth your time. You know what I mean? Like honestly, this movie, it isn't outrageously bad, but it's just a waste of your life to watch.
Me and my monkey. Monkey doesn't wear any pants.
Transformers Rise of the Beast. It's like Transformers, but this time they turn into animals. If you've seen any Transformers movie, you know what to expect. It's dumb, stupid fun with robots turning into trucks and fighting each other. This time, they also turn into monkeys. We have Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal. That's his actual name. And yeah, it's dumb fun. It's nothing special, and it's honestly not that fun. It's just like mindless fun than dumb fun, if that makes sense. But it's serviceable. I think one of the reasons I was more satisfied with this was because, unlike the previous movies, like the MCU and Indiana Jones, where I know their franchise is better than this, with Transformers, I'm not expecting anything. If you went into Rise of the Beast expecting high art, then you've probably never seen a Transformers movie in your life. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. As always, the CGI was the highlight, and the story was whatever. So basically, the plot of this movie is that Earth is being invaded by Unicron, which was a little disappointing because, in case you don't know, in most Transformers lore, Unicron, which is a Transformer, is the Earth. The Earth is a Transformer, in case you didn't know that. And I thought that was cool, but in this version, they just made him a planet eater, which is cool too, I guess. There's just something special about knowing that the Earth is a giant transformer. But anyway, the Autobots, after the events of the Bumblebee movie, even though the characters from that movie, besides Bumblebee, don't show up in this, are at Earth, and they need a way to find back to Cybertron. That's the name of the planet. So they're looking for a way back, and they found a key that might help teleport them, but it also might bring Unicron here. So then they have to get the help from the Maximals. That's what they call the ones that turn into animals now. And Optimus Primal's there, and he's a gorilla. He's like, oh, I can't bang my chest because I'm holding this iPad, but you know how it is. And yeah, that's basically the movie. There's this one scene where Bumblebee dies, and like, okay, wow, Bumblebee died. That's so sad. But I knew they were just faking us because the trailer showed footage of Bumblebee in the final battle. Also, the main character of this movie was probably, what's his name? Scourge Striker? The Strike Force? I forget his name. Something stupid. But it's a robot played by Pete Davidson. And I know a lot of people like Pete Davidson, but I think he's one of the most obnoxious comedians of our time. His whole thing, his whole gimmick is that he's a douchey man-child party baby. Like, we get it, you're immature adult. That's not as funny as you think it is. Being a man-child isn't as funny as you think it is, guys. But I don't know. He died for real this time, which is fine by me. Couldn't get that robot to shut up. Surprised Optimus didn't disassemble his parts.
Girls, I want to see men.
Marvels is fine, I guess. It's alright. It's serviceable. There were some funny moments. As expected, Miss Marvel was the standout, and the other two were pretty dull, but whatever. So basically the plot is that some villain is trying to steal natural resources because Captain Marvel apparently destroyed their planet off screen or something, and because Miss Marvel, they all have the power to see light, Miss Marvel can turn light into physical matter, Captain Marvel can harness light, and Monica Rambeau can see light. That's actually what they say her power is, which, first of all, I can see light too, and second of all, if you've seen WandaVision, you know that's not really what her power is. I just feel like there's some concepts in here that don't really work. Like, they don't flesh them out. Like, there's this one scene where Captain Marvel and the Marvels, I guess, they can't save everyone, and Miss Marvel's sad because, her hero can't save anyone, and she's disappointed for a second, but then she grows satisfied with it and they move on. It's like, what? You could have done something interesting with that. Or like how Monica was mad about Captain Marvel because, she's been in the lore, she's been around this entire time and hasn't helped with anything. Like, seriously, where the fuck has she been? Okay? Battle of New York, aliens invading New York, wasn't there. But when Ultron was trying to destroy Europe, she wasn't there. When Thanos was trying to kill half the universe, she wasn't there. When Ronan invaded Xanthar, she wasn't there. Like, what does it take to get you there? Jesus. Like, what do we need to do to make you show up the places? She wasn't looking for a home for the Skrulls either, so, like, what was she doing? I guess she was too busy starting Civil Wars. Sheesh. And that Civil War seems like too big of a thing. But I guess it works because it definitely gives Captain Marvel a flaw of grief and starting a war. So, I guess She's not a Mary Sue to all the people who said that anymore. I mean, I never liked Captain Marvel, but I wouldn't blame that on the fact that she's a woman. I just think she's a poorly written character. And I just think this is a poorly written movie.
Making out with your first girlfriend, and you came in line when she touched your leg. It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it seemed like you nutted at just a woman's touch.
I went to see The Flash.
My expectations were low. Besides all the controversies surrounding Ezra Miller, and me just not being the biggest DC fan, I don't know, it didn't look special, and it definitely wasn't helping when the movie came out, and reviews were mostly negative, and there were a bunch of movies dunking on the CGI. But
After I saw it, I actually kind of liked it. It's not anything special, but it's all right, you know, it's decent. It's decent. So basically the plot is that Barry, the Flash, figured out he can travel back in time, and now he has went back in time to save his mother from being murdered. But it turns out that his time travel has created unforeseen consequences. So if you read comics, you'd recognize this as the Flashpoint storyline, which I have read, and the comic is a lot better than the movie, but that doesn't mean the movie's without its merits. So somehow resurrecting his mom made Batman Michael Keaton somehow, and it also turned Superman into Supergirl, and he's in the facility, which doesn't really make sense, but Flashpoint had things that don't really make sense either. But anyway, in this new parallel reality, Zod is attacking, and somehow Superman can beat Zod, but Flash, Supergirl, and Batman fighting together can't. So in the end, Flash has to go through these time loops multiple times with his other version of himself that never knew his mom died in the first place. I liked it because in the end, he realized that no matter what, he just can't beat Zod. No matter what he does, no matter how much he travels back in time to start over, he just can't do it. So eventually, he realizes that the world's going to be destroyed, and the only way that the world will be right again is if he undoes it and lets his mom pass. It's a nice theme on accepting grief. I like it. I like it a lot. Not as well written as the comic, but still pretty good. Although I do have to wonder why Supergirl and especially Michael Keaton's Batman were even in here. I mean, I know why, but like, still, it feels unnecessary. I feel like all you needed was the two Flashes, present Flash and past Flash. But yeah, it was about accepting grief and stuff, and I liked that. I also had a few funny moments, I guess. As horrible, the special effects. I thought people were exaggerating when I heard people dunking on the effects, but oh my god, it's so bad looking. It's actually kind of funny. The whole thing looks like a janky PS2 cutscene. They keep trying to animate faces, but it never looks right. Like, look at that. I don't know. Just doesn't look real. And I don't know. The whole thing just looks weird. And Flash is like the goofiest looking running animation. He's like on his tiptoes the entire time. And like, yeah, the director said it was intentional because it's supposed to look weird from Flash's perspective because he's moving so fast. I think that's BS. I think he was just like trying to come up with an excuse It's like, I don't know what was going on here. Like, I'm honestly curious how the CGI ended up looking so bad. I don't know, man. And then there's a scene where like Chris Reeves shows up and Adam Sandler shows up and Nick Cage shows up and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What the why? Why do you feel the need to do that? Just bad. Bad special effects. And honestly, the special effects are so bad that I'm lowering it from a 7 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10 because they really are distractingly atrocious.
Another blow.
Boy, Oppenheimer. I've been dreading talking about this one. So, Oppenheimer was, for me at least, the surprise hit of the summer. I remember like a couple months ago, for the movie release, there was like this live premiere for the trailer. And I caught it because it was just in my feed. I didn't even know what it was. And there was one person other than me watching it. But then, closer to release, there was more and more buildup, including the Barbieheimer phenomenon, which, in case you don't know, people were making a big deal about how Oppenheimer and Barbie were coming out on the same day. And, I'm sorry, guys, I just don't think it's that great. Now, a lot of people have been saying this is like cinema, this is a masterpiece, one of the best movies of the 2020s, and sorry, guys, I just don't see it. I just can't, in good faith, put this anywhere, even consider putting this above a 7 out of 10. And I'm not giving it a 7 out of 10. Now, let's talk about the stuff I did like. I liked the story, okay? Now, the part about him making the bomb and all that stuff, that was cool. I really liked that. It was very interesting. And I think if the movie was laid out better, I would have enjoyed it more. So the plot is about Oppenheimer, the creator of the nuclear bomb. So I'll just lay out the whole thing chronologically for you. In the 30s, he was a communist, and then he started working on the bomb, and then the communists started making the bomb, so they figured out that there must have been a Russian spy, and because he used to be a communist in the 30s, now he is under suspicion for espionage. And that's a story, and it sounds pretty simple, but the thing is, Christopher Nolan cannot keep it coherent. Everything is out of order. They show scenes from the past and then scenes from the future. Then they show scenes that are in between the past and the future and the present, and it's all out of order. Some scenes are in color, but some scenes are in black and white. Why? I don't know. Fuck you, I guess. And, like, I mean, I thought it was because they were saying black and white is future or present or whatever, and, like, black and white is after all that nuke stuff, but then they have stuff that's even farther in the future, and that's in color again. And at one point, they have a scene in black and white, and then they re-show the same scene in color later. Like, what? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Thing some movies do where they have a character recounting the events of the story. This movie does that from, like, 2 different perspectives at the same time. It's never clear who's coming from what. And yeah, I just thought it was weird. Like, I couldn't keep track of what was going on. And, like, I don't know. Some of the things just felt a little weird to me. A little goofy. And I get that a lot of this was real life, so that's not on the writing team's fault. But, like, Oppenheimer built this massive bomb for Germany, and then when Germany quit, they were like, "Oh well, I guess don't have to use it anymore because we could probably get Japan without the bomb." And Oppenheimer was like, "No, no, 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 no! We have to use the bomb. We need to. We absolutely need to use the bomb." But then, after the bomb struck, he was like, "Oh my God, the bomb exploded? What? I'm devastated. Who thought that a weapon of mass destruction that I pressured into going into a city would have killed people? I'm so shocked. This is like, I mean, Oppenheimer's a hypocrite, but I don't know. I guess that he doesn't have to be great. My main quarrels come with the timeline. Also, Mr. Bruh, his motivation makes no sense. So basically, Oppenheimer talked about how he thinks the world's going to end because of nuclear war, and this makes Albert Einstein mad. And because of that, Albert Einstein doesn't say hi to Mr. Bruh when he's walking past him. Because of that, Mr. Bruh assumes that Oppenheimer was bad-mouthing him and then makes it his life mission to destroy Oppenheimer's life by accusing him of as a communist spy. Like, what? That doesn't make sense. Again, real life, so I can't complain that much. But still, I don't know. It's kind of stupid. Mr. Bruh's kind of stupid. Yeah, my thoughts on Oppenheimer were disappointing. And I feel left out because a lot of people have been saying this is like the best movie of the year, and I'm just not seeing it. This is probably going to be awarded for an Oscar for Best Picture because it's like the normie pick. Everyone's picking this. It has all the fittings of an Oscar winner, but it doesn't have any of the spark.
Watch the screen, not your feet.
Bill, shut up, I got it.
Number 32.
Oh, now my pizza's ready.
Tag out, man, tag out. I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world, wrapped in plastic. It's fantastic. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Yeah.
Didn't you know it? Barbie and Oppenheimer, back to back. Both highly anticipated events of movies that ended up being rather disappointing. And really, Barbie and Oppenheimer were almost equally fine, you know? But I think, out of personal enjoyment, Barbie just gets a little bit ahead of the crack. So basically, in this movie, Barbie from Barbie Land has to go to the real world because she's aging or something? I honestly forget. And Ken's with her, because why not? And when they're in the real world, Ken learns about the patriarchy or whatever, and then he turns Ken into Kendom. That's what it's called. Kendom. And all the Kens take over, and then the Barbies gotta like get it back, and also Will Ferrell's there, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, so let's talk about the Ken stuff, because that's the stuff that the internet really blew up about. That's the stuff that the pro-Barbie lovers loved and are constantly praising, and the stuff that anti-woke crowd is talking about why it sucks. So let's talk about Ken. So basically, at the start of the movie, Ken is a nobody. All the Kens are second-class citizens that exist as prizes for the Barbies. And when Ken learns that in the real world, it's, well, not exactly the roles reversed, but it's definitely more of a reversal than Barbie was, he kind of has a power trip, you know? I mean, he's been a second-class citizen his whole life, and now he just learned that he can accomplish something in Barbie Land. He becomes a Sigma, essentially. That's what he becomes. Sigma Land. He turns Barbie Land into Sigma Land. But then the Barbies take it back for some goofy plan that I honestly don't even remember. But then, Ken learns, and Barbie have a little heart-to-heart. And Barbie and Ken And Barbie comes to the realization that maybe we shouldn't be treating men as second-class citizens, and it has a nice little message on gender equality. And I was like, okay, this is good. It's saying that both genders are equal, and having women in charge of the world only would be just as bad as having men in charge of the world only. And I could deal with that, but they don't resolve it exactly that way. I think that's what they were trying to say, but the whole plot ends up being resolved with a sort of weird conclusion, and it almost feels like I can see where the people, why a reasonable person would think it's women only. It ends on a gag where it's like, oh well, now we can become equals and we can run for president or stuff, and they're like, no, we're not. We're still gonna make you second class citizens, but you're gonna be able to have a couple jobs now instead of being forced to be jobless nobodies. And I feel like that put a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and I can see why people would think that it's anti-men. But I mean, like, reasonable people. Obviously, some people went into this movie deciding they already hated it. Same with Marvel's, which is a shame. But the difference between this is Marvel's kind of warranted a lot of dislike, and Barbie was better. And obviously, speaking of the Kens, that guy as Ken was such a riot. He was so funny. The star of the show. I mean, again, everyone was talking about Ken for a reason. And his song, I'm Just Ken, oh my god, it's so good. That whole sequence of the Kens fighting on the beach is so good. It feels like I'm watching a real pink war zone, if that makes sense. That doesn't even make sense. But that's what it feels like. Oh, yeah. So, I've talked about the stuff I like, which is the stuff at Barbie Land. But you might have noticed that I'm skipping over a section. And that's the part that takes place in the real world. I just think that it's kind of whatever. Obviously, Ken discovering the patriarchy is great, but like the Barbie stuff. Okay, so honestly, when I started writing this, I kind of forgot about this part altogether. But Barbie is getting older because in the real world there is a mom who's growing apart from her daughter who used to play with Barbies, and now she's making her own Barbie drawings of like depressed Barbie or hemorrhoids Barbie or something. I don't remember. And like she has to bond the Sigma suit. There it is. I would actually, that is so awesome. But anyway, it's pretty gay too. Anyway, so, and then it's like they gotta bond the daughter and the mother together again. But like, to be honest, her daughter is kind of a jerk. Like, she is everything I don't like about movie teenagers. She's edgy and annoying for no reason. As a teenager myself, I'm so tired of teenagers always being portrayed as moody edgelords all the time. It's kind of like we're not all like that. There's a lot of teenagers are normal people, whatever. And she's like, I don't like Barbies because you like support a bad idea or whatever. And like, she's so annoying. And she's, of course, I don't like her. And I get some people will say that it's a character arc and she's not supposed to be likable at first. She learns to be better. But I feel like she doesn't earn it. And even by the end of the movie, I still did not like her at all. If you think you're gonna like it, you'll probably like it. And if you don't think you'll like it, you probably won't. You know, it's one of those movies. Check it out if you're interested. But whether you check it out or not, make sure to look up I'm Just Ken, the I'm Just Ken song on YouTube, because it is one of the best movie songs I've ever listened to, and I would not be surprised if it wins Best Original Song at the Oscars this year. South Park joining the Panderverse. Does this even count as a movie? Because it ties into a TV show, so it might be a TV special? I don't know, because I'm not including TV specials or short films on this list, but the website listed it as its own separate thing, so it might be a movie and not a TV special? I'm not sure. Well, it's on Letterboxd, but Letterboxd has miniseries too, and Letterboxd just all around is a very inconsistent definition of what makes a movie. Okay, how about this? We're gonna go on Serialized, which is TV shows only, and if it doesn't show up as an episode, then we will count it as a movie. Just for context, I'm not really a South Park guy. I mean, I've seen a couple episodes, but I've never been a fan. I know some guys are like obsessed with the show and think it's like one of the best shows on TV. I don't think it's all that, but I just couldn't care about the AI segments. Basically, we'll talk about the AI first because it's the other plot first. So, what exactly was this movie trying to say? I think what it was trying to say is that you have all the woke stuff Disney's doing, and that's not good. And, there's a bunch of channels saying, oh, South Park agrees with us. But I don't think it is. Like, if you think your point is proven because Eric Cartman agrees with you, it's because Eric Cartman is a terrible person. I think that's been established throughout the show's history. Cartman, as always, he's scared of diversity and stuff and afraid that Kathleen Kennedy's going to get him, and he gets sent to an alternate reality where everyone's a diverse female character. Those Star Wars movies are not as diverse as they would like you to think. I mean, Rey's a female character. And for the people that actually care about diversity and shit, they're gonna be mad because they bait and switch them. Remember how in Thor Love and Thunder announcement, you were like, well, Valkyrie's the king. Universe is pretty good because it makes people realize that they're both stupid and, yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. Hype for Elemental was absolutely non-existent. The marketing for this movie was so bad. And it's interesting because this had the opposite problem of last year's Disney film Strange World. In Strange World, the problem was the whole thing was barely marketed at all. A lot of people didn't learn it existed until they were learning about its bombing. Elemental had the exact opposite problem. The marketing was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. It was on every ad, every pop-up, billboards, the side of the fucking bus. The problem wasn't exposure. The problem was that the movie looked like it sucked. The marketing was terrible. I did not plan on seeing this movie at all. Even my mom thought it looked bad, and she's willing to see any of these animated movies. Seriously, did Illumination bribe the marketing team to sabotage this movie? Because that's honestly what it felt like. So this is basically the story that this movie was advertising. A city full of elements, mostly fire and water. There's air and earth too, but they aren't important at all. But there's fire and water, and elements don't mix. But Wade's a water guy and Amber's a fire girl, and they love each other. Do you think they can find true love, even though they're different elements? What do you think? What do you think happens? You tell me. And yeah, it just looked so basic and run of the mill and uninspired. And if that's what this movie, if much lower on this list, thankfully, that was not what the movie was. I mean, it was to an extent, but it's a lot more to it than that. I don't know why the whole romance thing was the part they singled out the story on. Where this movie really shines is the relationship between Amber and her father, and about the guilt of leaving your culture and becoming more Americanized, I guess. Obviously, I can't speak on this at a personal level, but I really liked it a lot. I mean, I can't speak on any of that stuff. Imagine that someone that left their culture behind for a new one must feel conflicted about forgetting everything they ever known and want to make sure that they stay authentic to their original home. Yeah, I like that. And also, the romance between Wade and Amber wasn't as insufferable as people made it seem. It was pretty good, you know? Obviously, the animation is very nice, but it's Pixar. What did you expect? They're the pioneers of 3D animation. Pretty impressive how they managed to get essentially most of them non-solid assets for characters and made it look good and stylized. It's a shame that the marketing was so bad, but it's also nice because I was planning on skipping this movie. But the community and people online, I heard a lot of people actually saying it was good, and people were like, no, 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 it's not like as bad as the ads make it look. It's a pretty decent movie, a heartfelt movie, especially for immigrants. And I checked it out, and yeah, I liked it a lot. So thank you, Internet, for convincing me to watch this movie. Is it like one of Pixar's best? No, not at all. But it was pretty decent, and if you're interested, you should check it out because I think you'll enjoy it.
Boys, is this Freddy Fazbear?
Man, I don't even know what there is to say about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie that I haven't already said in my review. I suppose I could put my old review into this video, but I wouldn't do something that lazy. After 8 years of speculation, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is finally here. This might be my hardest review yet, because to explain most of my thoughts on this movie, I would kind of have to get into spoilers, and I'm going to try and keep this review spoiler-free. The animatronics, first of all, look gorgeous. They're all practical, no CGI. They were made by Jim Henson Studios, and they did an amazing job. Some of the most impressive practical effects I've ever seen. He also had lots of interesting concepts that added to the typical Five Nights at Freddy's ideals. And although I've seen a lot of people say the story was too complicated, I was actually impressed about how much they were able to simplify it, because I know the story of Five Nights at Freddy's, so I felt it was simple because I knew how much they cut out. But I'm not sure how simple the movie will seem to someone who's not familiar with the franchise. But here's my biggest grievance with the movie. It's not that scary, and not a lot happens without giving too much away. I think everyone that knew remotely anything about this movie, whether they knew everything about the franchise or just saw one trailer, was expecting a horror film, because that's what Five Nights at Freddy's is. It's a horror franchise. Not only is this movie not scary, because, you know, I hate to admit it, but I'm kind of a scaredy cat. And the sad part is, too, that at the beginning, it was scary. Like, they had an opening kill, and everyone in the theater was like, no, 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 what are you doing? And, like, they had another kill scene, and that was a little creepy, but, like, I'm not gonna say what it is, but they do something to these animatronics, and after that, I'm just not scared of them when it came to the climax. I was just like, okay, you guys are kind of jokes now. But not only is it not scary, should I say this? Is this spoiler? I'll just say this. Not much happens until the 5th night. I'm not sure if that's a spoiler, but I'm really can't talk about my thoughts on this movie without mentioning that. Like, it was just disappointing. Like, the animatronics are just gonna... Oh my god, this is why it's so hard to not talk about spoilers with this movie. Okay, let's just say that there are two scenes where the animatronics are actually killing people. In a 2-hour movie, there are only 2 scenes where you get to see the thing that the movie was sold as. And that disappointed me. Another thing I didn't like about this movie, which I'll try not to give too much away for people who don't know a lot about the franchise, is the villain. I didn't really like how they handled him in this movie. He kind of shows up in one scene at the beginning, and then he kind of disappears until the very end of the movie. And this is going to be controversial, but I didn't like how he was portrayed in this movie. To me, the villain, I'm not going to say his name because that might be a spoiler, but the villain has always been sort of a calm, collected, scientific mind. And while I know there have been interpretations where he's been just your average serial killer, it was a little disappointing that that's the version we got. It was still pretty intimidating though, so I'll give him that. They like but don't affect my score of the movie. The Matt Pett cameo was epic. I was like, that voice sound kind of familiar, and then I looked up and oh my god, it's Game Theory. I really liked how they had YouTuber cameos. It really showed that they appreciate the community. Having the fan-made Five Nights at Freddy's song during the credits was pretty cool too. Also, the opening credits theme was pretty good as well. Since we're on the subject of community, I just want to say that you Five Nights at Freddy's fans are kind of wild, bro. I saw multiple people in costumes, and everyone was talking the whole time. But it was like an excited talking, not a distracted talking. There were multiple points where everyone clapped. And it was great. And you already know someone said, was that the bite of 87? So, yeah. Everyone was engaged and pretty loud about it. And I enjoyed it. What a coincidence. My completely new original review of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie ended up being exactly like my old review on the same topic. What a weird coincidence. Let's move on. Asteroid City. This isn't my typical film, as you've probably been able to tell from my lineup of movies so far, and the lineup of movies that we'll be talking about later. I've mostly been talking about blockbusters, or corporate movies anyway. A lot of these things didn't bust the block. But I decided to see Asteroid City, and I thought it was really great. It's a Wes Anderson movie, so if you know the director, you know what to expect. It has his signature visual style, but everything is amped up to 11. It looks gorgeous. I mean, I would describe it in further detail, but I'm sure you have eyes. You can probably see the footage I'm showing you right now. And, again, like always, star-studded cast. There are so many big-name it's like an Academy Awards guest list or something. All the usual Wes Anderson suspects, but you also got some new faces like Steve Carell and Tom Hanks, who I don't believe has been in a Wes Anderson film before. Don't quote me on that. But oddly enough, both the strongest point and the weakest one is the story. I know that sounds odd, but let me explain. So the story is about a family. It's a boy, a son, 3 daughters, and the father, and they're going to their grandpa's house, but their car crashes in Asteroid City near a local meteorite. And recently, about 3 weeks ago, the mother has died, and the father has not told his kids yet. And it's about trying to accept grief and move on, and he moves on, and with the help of his temporary neighbor, famous actress, I forget her name, but she is like a famous actress in the world, and there's also like a science contest that his son is in, and the actress's daughter is in together, and they fall in love. And that's like the core story right there. If that was it, I would have been like, all right, this was a great movie. I really liked it, and I did really like it. But it just feels unfocused. Like there's a lot more to the story. For instance, Steve Carell is selling real estate. Why is he selling real estate? I don't know. There's just like 2 scenes of him doing that, and then it never shows up again. And it just feels kind of arbitrary. And like the part where the alien shows up. The alien is another really important plot point that they definitely should have kept. Even in my ideal trimming of this movie, they would have kept, because the alien steals the meteorite, and that's why they gotta stay there. It's a representation for a lot of things, actually, but we'll get to that. But like, there's like a little plot point about the kids exposing the alien, and they do that, and now everyone knows about the alien. Guess what happens with that? Nothing. Everyone just knows about the alien, and then they're coming to Asteroid City, and nothing comes of that. And there's like this scientist who's like helping the kids. Nothing comes of that. The only like plot line that I feel was like didn't have a purpose that I would have kept is the school kids. It had nothing to do with the plot at all, and it was basically useless, but it was just too funny and charming, so I would have kept it. That's only the first layer. You see, Asteroid City is a play, as in, within the context of the movie, Asteroid City is a fictional play. So not only do you get these scenes, which are the play itself, but you also get other scenes, which are in black and white, and those show the real world, quote unquote, and the production of the play behind the scenes. So just when you thought it couldn't get any more jam-packed, you got this B-plot about the director and the main actor being gay, and you get like this whole storyline about like, what does it mean to create art or something? And it's very interesting, but again, it takes a movie that's already so full. It stuffs more material into the movies that I'm not sure is really needed. So basically, the theme of the meta story, what I got from it anyway, is that you can create, and this does go into my complaint about the play stuff, is that people create art and it doesn't always have meaning, right? Like not everything was written with a purpose, and I guess I could go for the other stuff, like Steve Carell selling real estate. That probably didn't have any deep meaning, but the idea was that somebody can find their own meaning, and that's the beauty of art, and someone can find their own meaning and narrative and story in something that was completely unintentional, and that the playwright doesn't write what he understands, he just writes what feels right. And I guess that's fair enough. That's a pretty unique theme that really only an experienced storyteller could tell. So I guess that explains the other stuff about Asteroid City and Alien and all that stuff and real estate. It was all there because he thought of it, and he realized that someone else would probably be able to make their own meaning out of the nonsense, if that makes sense. Now, there is this other part where they say something like, you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. Honestly, I don't even know what that means. Like, I have no clue what they're talking about with that. But yeah, it was pretty good. Especially the meta part where he's talking to Margaret Robbie, and the scene where they have to leave the mother's ashes behind in the desert, which is probably the most emotional I felt during the movie. So yeah, pretty good movie.